Hey guys, welcome back to Young Americans Abroad, your best place for weekly content on young American soccer players playing overseas. My name is Austin Van Churen.
And my name is Patrick Ferry.
And welcome to our show. Well, guys, we're back this week after we took last week off for Thanksgiving. You know, Pat, we had to spend it with our families, socially distanced, of course. But yeah, it's good to be back. We have some good things to talk about today and a lot of action over the weekend.
Yeah, there's a lot of action, Austin, and yeah, it was just great. Obviously, again, just had a small, just the wife and I and her dad, but yeah, we kind of kept it small. Played some board games there, and just ate some delicious turkey and all that good food. So can't complain there. And then yeah, like you said, we have a lot to talk about. Starting with the Barca boys, Austin. Some making history with a goal there, and another with a Champions League debut.
That's right. We also had a surprise debut over in the Bundesliga for one of our Yas.
And another American midfielder, Austin, there over in the Eredivisie, making his first start. So all that and more in this week's episode. All right, guys, and to start off this week's episode, we're going to talk about one of those Barca boys, and that's Sergino Dest. So we're going to go back a little bit here in time, Austin, to the Dynamo Kiev Champions League game and talk about his performance there, which is really impressive. So, again, he had the start there at the full 90. Obviously, with the injury, unfortunate hamstring injury to Sergio Roberto, there's been some open spots there and the outside back position for Dest to really come and get more minutes and make an impact. And he certainly did with this game where, he was up to his trickery and kind of that sauce that you could say that you saw some of it during the U.S. friendlies, and certainly took that confidence and performed really well in this Champions League game, and ultimately got a goal there for the first American ever in Barcelona history, where he made a really darting run, almost just playing type of similar to a midfielder, attacking midfielder role, finding himself in great spots there, and in the final third just made a dashing run ahead. And I believe one of the forwards there just kind of tapped it forward to him. I think it's Martin. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name.
Braithwaite, yeah.
Braithwaite, yeah, thank you. So yeah, he just kind of let it along, and Dest slotted it home. Low shot right into the corner, and a pretty nice angle, difficult angle, past the keeper to the left side, and finished it home. So that was a really crucial goal, and Barcelona, granted not the best start to La Liga, are doing pretty well in the Champions League group so far. So it's great to see Dest really involved there. So what do you think, Austin? What are your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, he looked great in this game. I watched part of the game, and then I saw the highlights after it. And like you said, he was up to his old tricks, and he's just playing with such confidence right now. It's really fun to watch him. And yeah, this game was a great example of that. So yeah, and it was great to obviously see him score too. So I believe that's not only his first Barcelona goal, but that's his first goal in his career. I think he had one goal for young Ajax, but he never scored for the first team last year. So pretty big moment for him.
Yeah, definitely a big moment, Austin. So maybe he'll be kind of playing all positions. Who knows? We'll have to see. But yeah, I mean, Serginho had some of those moves too. We talked about. He's kind of the master of the snake at this moment, Austin, where he just does that at least a few times a game, and really did the Kiev defenders dirty. I think there are two on him in the corner, and he's able to squeeze by, with some strength there and some of that skill. So again, really great to see. And then fast forward to the most recent game where they're kind of getting on track with the league, and good. I think it was 4-0 win against Osasuna there. Osasuna, excuse me. And again, Dest started that game. And he did come off in the 61st minute. I'm not sure if that was fatigue, or I know there's some talks about some minor leg injury that he's picked up, and if he were to start that game. But again, looked pretty solid, sharp defensively, cutting out balls, intercepting, and really actually had some good moments where he was pushing off some defenders and being physical. And obviously, I think that's a really important part of the game, especially in La Liga against some of those very physical teams where he's able to use his body and win the ball and fend people off when he's moving forward or under pressure. So again, had some good combinations with Messi and the rest of the team, and he's been very impressive also to watch. And I think with the confidence he got from back with the US, as well as just being this move to Barcelona, I think he's just on a great trajectory right now in terms of being one of the top players in our player pool in terms of form right now.
Yeah, he's really taken a life at Barcelona right away. Like he really hasn't struggled from the beginning or needed time to settle in. He's been right away, right from the start after that move to Barcelona. So yeah, I think it's fantastic. Like you said, he's one of the players in the best form at the moment in our team or in our pool. And yeah, the confidence just shows on the field with all these tricks and skill moves and things like that. So yeah, I'm excited to just keep seeing more of them, especially again, like you said, with Sergio Roberto out, that leaves a hole for him to fill at right back for Barcelona. So it's kind of up to him now to get that starting right back position and make it his own.
Right, like you said, Austin, really unfortunate injury there to Sergi. But again, this is almost kind of his spot there, which he could easily surpass him for the taking. Where I think a lot of the players now you could kind of see it on the pitch, and then I think even with some interviews, I forget who it was, if it was current or past Barcelona players, but some of them are very impressed and said that he has a really long future here at Barcelona. And I know obviously Koeman's really impressed and just inserting him here into the lineup and trusting him. And yeah, I think there's nothing but the best moving forward here, Austin.
Yeah, and I guess with that we'll move on to our next player, and that's Gio Reyna. So Gio had a good week last week. Individually, Dortmund kind of had a bad end to the weekend, but Gio's week started out where he started and played 81 minutes for Dortmund in their 3-0 win over Club Brugge in the Champions League. So good result there for him, good game. And then over the weekend, he did come off the bench for Dortmund in their 2-1 loss to Köln and actually provided an assist on Dortmund's lone goal on the day. So basically, the assist came off a really nice ball that he patiently waited to play to Torgan Hazard, who finished, across the goalkeeper into the far corner. And Gio looked pretty bright in this cameo. Dortmund on the day were the better team in that game, in my opinion, but really just kind of struggled to find scoring chances, and even had some nice chances at the end of the game to score with Erling Haaland completely miskicked the ball in the final minutes. And so unfortunately Dortmund weren't able to get the win. But again, Gio, like I said, looked good in this cameo and picked up another assist. So that brings his assist tally on the season to 5. Now he's an 18-year-old, so we can't keep saying him as a 17-year-old doing all these things. But 5 assists early on in the season's, no bad thing, and Gio's no slouch for that. So when you look at it in the Bundesliga, he's got 4 assists. That's good for 3rd place right now. And that's just behind Thomas Muller, who's been on a tear the past year and a half, racking up assists. And then also Daichi Kamada from Eintracht Frankfurt and Max Kruse from Union Berlin now, formerly of Werder Bremen. So, pretty good company to keep. Just putting up good stats. Obviously, 3 of those assists came in one game, but still, it's been a pretty good start to the season for Gio. I think, the big thing I would say, Pat, before I throw it to you, Dortmund as a whole are kind of getting in this. They've had a rough patch, I'd say, for the last few games. They lost to Lazio early on in the Champions League before the international break. And I feel like ever since then, they've kind of been shaky in their performances. They've kind of been a little too lackadaisical and not aggressive enough in the final third and finishing. I know Erling Haaland's gotten some goals and things like that, but that's just my perception of the team. And in that, I think Gio's been a little passive the last few games too. So I was just going to get your opinion, Pat, on his performances recently, and what are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat as you in terms of when you're talking about Dortmund's, yeah, I guess dip in form, or how the team is maybe not playing up to their standard, their typical standard. But yeah, it almost seems like, again, and I don't want to paint anything in a negative light, but I thought Gio, it was great to see him score and get involved with the U.S. and it's great for the future. But even with Dortmund, I'm wondering if he's maybe not up to that. His top form that we've come to know and love, and obviously having 3 assists in one game, or having some unreal goals scored. But yeah, I mean, it just kind of seems like it's I'm not sure if it's just with all the games and international breaks and domestic games here and Champions League that the wacky schedules this year is maybe taking a toll on the team as a whole, and maybe Gio individually still being a young player and getting a lot of minutes, but it almost seems like maybe it's a little bit of fatigue there, and maybe a little break would do justice. Obviously, there's no break here with soccer. It seems like, Austin, but I guess just
Right.
kind of take. It seems like just kind of needs to take a second and refresh and kind of get that edge back there.
Yeah, and there's a lot of expectation on a lot of the young players in Dortmund, and I think sometimes that weighs heavy on a player. And like you said, Pat, Gio started off the season really on a tear, scoring goals and providing assists. And recently, that's not really been the case, and that's no fault to him. He's still,
Right.
how to play in the Bundesliga. But yeah, I feel like, and I said this to you off camera last year at the end of the season, there was a period where he was coming on for the final 20 minutes of games and kind of, in my opinion, just going through the motions, not really taking it to the other team when he came on the pitch, just kind of being a bystander of the game. And I was starting to get that feeling a little bit in some of these performances he's had. Now, obviously, Dortmund's, this weekend they didn't pull out results, but Erling Haaland's been huge for them, finishing chances and things like that. And, taking these games where they're struggling to create chances and kind of, putting them to bed, which is great. But there's been some of these games recently where I've just gotten that same feeling from him. So, I just think over these next few games before we get to the shorter Christmas break this year, I just like to see him kind of refocus a little bit and recommit to really being a dominant player, because I think from all the things we've heard from him, his goal is not just to play games for Borussia Dortmund; it's to produce goals and assists for the team. So yeah, I just would like to see him kind of get back to that mentality, because we've seen it before from him, and
Absolutely.
produce goals and assists before. So yeah, that's just my take. All is not wrong in the world with an 18-year-old player getting good minutes in the Bundesliga. But with that, I'll throw it to you, Pat, for a player who got his first start this weekend.
That's right, Austin. And we're going to head over to the Eredivisie there with Richy Ledezma. So yeah, like you said, you made some history there and started and played 66 minutes there in their PSV's 1-0 win against Sparta. So again, Richie's had quite the month here. Bagged a few assists with the U.S. Some cameos there, which is great to see, and then kind of continuing that momentum here with PSV and putting in a strong shift and strong performance. So I guess just things to highlight from the the debut there, and also wanted to circle back there. I'm sorry, before I'm getting ahead of myself. In the Europa League, he did actually a few minutes there, last minute sub, getting some action there, to propel him to this weekend's debut in the Eredivisie. So again, what I was really impressed with Austin, and seeing him now kind of step up and rise past that young PSV level, is really just the game speed and being adjusting to that physicality of the first division there. So he had a few moments where he was kind of pushed in tight spaces, able to retain possession, control the ball, not get too phased or pushed off or beaten easily. So I like that kind of aspect of the game, and also kind of being that go-to in that lead. Obviously, you saw the skill, and we know as American fans the accuracy and the delivery that Ledezma has. Whipping balls in, whether it's corners, free kicks, things like that. And he was kind of that that primary taker there, stepping in for his first start and then being that crucial player on the corners and free kicks. I could see throughout the game. I think it's pretty important and definitely speaks volumes. Obviously, there's still a long way to go, but I thought he had a pretty solid performance, in their win, where we're seeing accustomed to that shiftiness that Ledezma has, being able to kind of thread the needle and just, again, really alert to where he was in the field, and if players were on his back playing, 1-2 touch, one-touch combinations, and then making clever runs in between the lines. So I was really impressed with that, Austin.
Yeah, and he looked really comfortable. I feel like that's what we've seen from Richy at the young PSV level, just a player who's completely comfortable in his environment, I guess really ever since making the move to the Netherlands. And I was curious to see if that was going to be the case, especially in this game where, starting is, in my opinion, a bigger pedestal to be on than just coming in off the bench. And in his few bench appearances, he's looked good too. But I was really curious just to see how quickly he could integrate into the game, if he had any nerves or anything like that. And like you said, Pat, he really looked the part. He also took, the free kicks for them and corners at times. So yeah, I was, pretty proud of the performance. Obviously, it seemed like PSV were struggling to really break down Rotterdam, until he got subbed out. I believe they scored after he subbed out, right?
They scored right after, yeah.
Yeah, so, it is what it is. I guess he couldn't help them score a goal, which was kind of unfortunate. But where was I going with this? I guess, I don't know. I thought it was a good performance. I'm curious to see, and I think this is something we were going to get to, is, will he finally be able to stick with the PSV first team? He's been playing for young PSV off and on when he's not getting looks with the first team. So I don't know, Pat. I think, finally getting a start, says to me that this is actually a player that's going to stay with the first team and be, someone who at least make their bench every game. But I feel like we've thought that in the past, and that hasn't been the case. So what do you think?
Right. Yeah, that's a good thought. But I'm feeling pretty optimistic. I think with the U.S. friendlies being called in there, helping his confidence there with this start. I don't know. I think he's in a really good spot, and I think the coach is recognizing and he's even said with patience. And I know we've been kind of more anxious and I guess let down, not the first team, but again, I think we talked about this off camera a little bit. Won't get too in depth, but I know he just, I think Ledezma is at a point where he is just beyond that young PSV level, in terms of again, what he can do on the pitch and offer a team and being crafty and up to the speed of play and the physicality now that we've seen and whipping in those balls and deliveries where I think it's almost just kind of wasted at that young PSV level where I think this is it, Austin, where this is I guess Richie's stand here and he's going to make that jump, and this is no going back at this point, even if he's sitting on the bench there at the first team a game or two, but starting half the time. I think this is really he's developed drastically in the last I guess you could say 6 months here, to where the coach is even saying let's just play him 45 minutes in this young PSV game here, and then save him for the first team and get the start. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what they do moving forward.
Yeah, I really hope he stays with them because, like we've alluded to through this whole part of the episode, he fits the part for the first team there at PSV. He fit right in. So, I guess with that being said, we'll pivot over to Germany and talk about a player who got his debut in the Bundesliga, and that would be Matthew Hoppe. So Matthew was a surprise call up to Schalke's first team going into the weekend. We heard some rumors about it through the grapevine. And I think there's a Bundesliga article posted about him on Friday, which kind of alluded to the fact that he'd at least play a role in the game. I personally thought he was going to be on the bench and not start. But, when the team news came out from Schalke, he was in the starting lineup. And, he played 81 minutes in the game. Schalke lost 4-1 to Gladbach, so not a great performance from them, or at least good result. So yeah, that was disappointing, and it's been a rough season for Schalke, as a lot of you guys will know. So to go into Matt's game a little bit more, I thought he looked great. He did a really good job of winning headers and also just taking touches in traffic. That was the thing that really impressed me about him. And to be fair, I have not seen too much of his games. I've seen a lot of highlights and things like that, but I haven't seen really full games. So this was the first time I was able to really get to see him in long form. And yeah, he did a good job. He did a good job also tracking back defensively. Schalke right now are a team that's really just trying to play with intensity and just, all players are trying to win the ball back and press as hard as they can to kind of get the other team off their balance. And to be fair to them, they did a really good job of that in the first half. Let some goals in at the back and let Gladbach on some counters. So I think this was my biggest takeaway from this game with Matt was he looked like he belonged, and I think that's like we said with Richy Ledezma, I think that's a big thing. It's one thing to get this playing time and just do what you can and just try and survive on the field. But in this game, really, Matt looked confident. He wasn't rattled by the occasion. You saw him communicating with his teammates and saying, press up with me, things like that. And he was trying to play, some one-touch passes, with some of those teammates. So I was really impressed with that. I think that's all that can, be expected coming away from this game. Like I said, Schalke struggled on the season. They've done horribly at creating goals and things like that. So I think or to expect him to score in this game or hope for him to score, that was kind of a dream. It would have been nice and things like that. But I thought he really did a good job of what he could control, and I think he's going to get some more minutes down the road here.
Yeah, absolutely, Austin. I think again, just in terms of his mentality and the player that he is, and what we've kind of seen, just from past goals outputs and kind of developing here, within the youth system. I think, again, unfortunately, Schalke is a bit of a sinking ship, and I am glad to see that they're pressing and taking the game to teams. But yeah, I mean, oh boy, it's I think this is just a chance for him to make an impact. Help kind of ride this ship. Hopefully they have some luck here, and Matthew can help them overcome. And it's nice to see him encouraging his team to press with him and get involved there. I'm really happy for him that way. It's just unfortunate with the club, situation right now in their environment.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of where I was leading next. So this was definitely a surprising call up. Matthew has played this year with Schalke 2, and through 15 games, he has 323 minutes with 1 goal and 1 assist. So, he was getting minutes in kind of a substitute role for Schalke's second team. Obviously, that's a U23 team, and he's still only 19 years old. So, maybe there's some older options that are getting minutes in that team. But even last year at the U19 level, and, we've covered it too, he got minutes, but he really didn't score many goals. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, because I think what you saw in this game was his ball skills and his ability to keep possession, and then also make runs in behind the defense was another thing he did well in this game. I thought we're definitely an asset to Schalke on the day. So maybe that's not his game. I know in the DA he was really good at scoring goals for Barca there in Arizona. But maybe that's kind of how his game has evolved, similar to Josh Sargent. So I thought that was interesting, and kind of made this call up a little bit out of the blue. But I think to go back to what we were talking about earlier, and being confident on the pitch and being up for the moment. His manager said after the game, basically, and I'm going to paraphrase this quote because I couldn't find it quickly, but the coach basically said that when a new player comes onto the pitch and makes his debut, there's, it can go one of two ways. It takes him 3 weeks or 4 weeks to really integrate into the first team and do well, or he comes on and makes an impact right away from the start. And he said Matt did the latter. So I think that's really good news, and I agree. I thought he was great. So I hope we get to see more of him next week and the week after.
And the final player we're going to talk about here is Konrad de la Fuente, Austin, making some history here.
That's right.
The second of the Barca boys. So again, he made his competitive senior Barcelona debut in the Champions League game. That same game against Kiev where Dest scored. And he played the final 7 minutes. So again, it was awesome just to see. I think now one of 7 or 8, I believe now, Americans, Austin, that have played in the Champions League. And that's just incredible to hear because, even in the last World Cup or two, I would have never thought that number would be possible.
Yeah, it's been crazy to see this year. There's been a lot of players getting time, and different positions too. It's not all like wingers or defenders or goalkeepers, things like that. It's a lot of varied positions, which is great.
Yeah, fantastic to see. So again, from this game, Austin, there wasn't too much to highlight. There was a few combinations. It's nice to see Dest and De La Fuente have a few 1 or 2 passes between them, which led to another Dest shot there. Would have been nice to see that, American goal and American assist. But nonetheless, I think that's a really great accomplishment. And you've seen Konrad obviously training with the first team on the bench here, getting that competitive debut, and obviously really propelling him to great things. Again, really great to see him with the U.S. in that camp, growing confidence and gaining kind of more experience with that group. So fast forwarding to the Barca B game, you could tell another player where maybe not the exact comparison to the Ledezma and that young PSV level, but again, on Barca B's stage, he was, against Lieda, he was completely just destroying the opponents there left and right, leaving people on the ground there as if they're, playing soccer on ice. So he was just skating by opponents and again, had a nice goal there, and actually could have had another one that was saved at the keeper after that long run he made, where he passed 4 or 5 people. But again, he's another player, Austin, that I think is a really crucial spot where he is just playing way above that Barca B level. Great to see him be at that, because in the past, I wouldn't have even thought he'd be making this much of a jump compared to the last year and a half before. But it's really great to see that rise here, that he's overcoming the odds. And again, is it kind of that time where you see how this season goes, and then next year, I certainly think it needs to be no more Barcelona B. I think it's beyond that level, and it needs to be either getting some minutes here and there with the first team on the bench, and then maybe some starts there, or some in the with different cup games and things like that. Or is it kind of moving on? Obviously, it's a little bit drastic there, but I want to get your take, Austin.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I know we've pondered this decision for him in the past, and it's good that he stayed. So, I think I'm in the same mind as you, that if it's just Barca B matches with some sporadic appearances for the first team next year, I would be in the mindset that it may be time to either find a loan move or a permanent move to a good team. He's really getting some good publicity right now, and his name's really getting out there. So I think there would be a lot of good suitors, whether that's still in La Liga or even in, the Premier League, similar to Adama Traore when he moved to, either Middlesbrough or Aston Villa, after that one season where he kind of got in and around the first team at Barcelona. So
right.
Yeah, I think like you said, it might be time to evaluate his options for real this summer. But hopefully he can get some minutes in the meantime with some of the injuries that Barcelona have.
Right. Yeah, and Fati is terrible to see him go down. To see such a young, promising starlet there, but it is interesting too, because they've been putting different formations. Then you have Pedri, even Coutinho kind of shifting out wide, the outside midfielder, even throwing, Messi on the various wings and floating in centrally. But, they do still have a lot of players there, Austin, which I think with the formation changes and tactics and some of the struggles they've had in the league, it'll be interesting to see if Konrad can kind of force his way in there and add to some production there. I certainly think he has some chances there, but to be honest, I think it's going to come between some of the, maybe the different domestic cups or things like that. I think we can really see him seize the moment there. Kind of like how you even saw for the U.S. Analogy back with Soto seizing the moment there and getting 2 goals instantly. But I certainly think Konrad has the ability to do it, and we'll just have to kind of keep watching here. And now, guys, I think we're going to head over to the last portion here of our show. It's one of my favorite parts of the show. I hope it's yours as well. And, at this point, I think it's Austin's here. But I can't speak for him, only myself. But it's none other than Quick Kicks.
See who could test Dwayne Miller. It's Altidore over the wall, and that one is in! Josie Altidore from a long way out. The opening goal for the United States.
All right, guys, and to start off Quick Kicks, we're heading back to Chelsea. Finally, Austin, long-awaited return for Christian Pulisic and his new beard here. So he's able to, play here the last 16 minutes. Nice to see him back from injury in a 0-0 draw against Tottenham.
That's right. Yeah, we've been waiting a little while. And going over to the Bundesliga, we have Tyler Adams, who started and played 90 minutes for Leipzig in their 2-1 win over Bielefeld.
And over in Italy, Weston McKennie, last week there for Juventus, started and played 62 minutes in a 2-1 win in the Champions League against Ferencváros. But then, over the weekend here, he didn't play in the 1-1 draw.
That's right. And going over to Germany, we have Chris Richards. So Chris started and played 79 minutes for Bayern in their 3-1 win over Salzburg in the Champions League. So good to see him get, I believe that was his Champions League debut. So great to see. And it was a good performance. I remember going back and watching and being impressed with what I saw. So great to see from Chris.
That's great, Austin. Great to see East Mamba doing well there.
That's
and
right.
Heading over to Spain with Yunus Musa, started and played 71 minutes in a 1-0 loss to Atletico Madrid. But nonetheless, great to see Yunus making such an impact there.
And going to France, we have Nick Gioacchini, who came on for the final 26 minutes for Caen in their 1-1 draw. So good to see him continue to get minutes.
That's right. And, over here with Haji Wright, and I'm going to try to pronounce the team, Sunderjerski. He started there and played 89 minutes in a 3-1 win versus Copenhagen.
That's right. And going to Portugal, we have Reggie Cannon, who started and played 90 minutes in Boavista's 0-0 draw.
And heading over to the Premier League with Anthony Robinson, started and played the full 90 in a solid 2-1 win against Leicester. And actually, I think SofaScore rated him one of the top 3 or 4 players there. So great to see Anthony kind of getting back on track in the Premier League.
Yeah, he's really taken over the starting spot too, Pat, over Joe Bryan, who was kind of the hero for them in the championship. So, yeah, it's really good to see. And moving to Belgium, we have Matt Miazga, who started and played 90 minutes for Anderlecht in their 0-0 draw. Seems like a common theme this weekend.
Yeah, quite a common theme. And, Emmanuel Savvy there for Odense BK started the match and played 63 minutes in an unfortunate 2-1 loss.
And dual Nat, we have Folarin Balogun, who came on for the final 8 minutes of Arsenal's 3-1 win over Molde in the Europa League on Thanksgiving Day. And, he actually scored the final goal for Arsenal, and that was his first goal. So good to see for Folarin, and hopefully we see him in a USMNT kit soon.
Stay tuned, Austin. I like that, hopefully. And we got over in Brazil, Johnny Cardoso. Started the match and played 59 minutes in a 0-0 draw for Internacional. But again, making some waves there in Brazil's Serie A there.
That's right. And going to Germany, we have Julian Green, who started and played 90 minutes for Greuther Fürth in their 3-2 win over Nuremberg. And Julian's been killing it recently for them. And first, I believe, at the top of the two Bundesliga table right now, if not in second. So, yeah, big season for him, kind of flying under the radar.
I like that. Let's get him back up to the Bundesliga. But yeah, we're going to another second division team over in Italy with our boy Andrea Novakovic, recorded his second assist of the season, Austin. As well as Rossonone picking up a 2-1 win. And also, you can't forget to mention the match's 2 goals. So he had quite the impact there. And now I think they're in 5th place, right in that promotion playoff spot. So let's hope they can climb up and get back to Serie A.
Yeah, that would be nice, especially after how close they came last year.
Right.
Seen them in Serie A this year. But yeah, going over to England, we have Matt Olasunda, who started and played 64 minutes in Rotherham United's 2-2 draw, and also picked up an assist in this game. So good to see Matt getting championship minutes this year.
Awesome, Austin. And then heading over to Spain in the second division, over at Tenerife, and Shaq Moore got the start again. Nice to see him, in the starting lineup consistently. In a solid win there. And then also wanted to mention Sam Sashoa subbed on in the 58th minute and scored in the 68th minute. So, a few Americans there, and Americans abroad, you could say, in Tenerife making an impact.
Yeah, that's good to see. And over in Austria, we have Eric Palmer Brown, who started and played 90 minutes for Austrian Vine in their 1-1 draw.
And Luca De La Torre started there for Heracles and played 90 in their 2-1 loss to AZ Alkmaar.
That's right. And going to Scotland, we have Cam Harper, who scored 2 goals and had an assist in Celtic's reserves 4-0 win during the week. So good to see Cam finally getting some game time. Some of those reserve games have been canceled recently. So good to see him, getting on the pitch and doing well.
Absolutely. And heading over to Portugal here with Johan Gomez for FC Porto B. Started the match and played the full 90 in a 3-2 win.
And going back to England, we have Hassan Ayari, who scored a goal in Sheffield United's U18's win this weekend. So good to see him get back on the score sheet. Seems like every week now.
Yeah, right. Not a bad thing, Austin. And Maurice Malone over in Germany, the 3 Liga there with Wehen SV. He started the match there and played the full 90 in a 2-1 loss. And he actually had a goal there, which is nice to see.
That's true. And our final player for Quick Kicks today is Taylor Booth, who made his long-awaited return from injury, started and played 74 minutes for Bayern Munich 2. Unfortunately, that was in a 2-0 loss. And today we have a young Ya again. So the young Ya for today is Abu Kamara, who is a 17-year-old midfielder, a dual nat, so he's got English and American citizenship. And he actually scored 2 goals this weekend for Norwich City's U18s. So definitely keep your eye on Abu. So that's all for our episode today, guys. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel down below.
If you don't want to miss any action too with daily updates here during the week, Instagram, Twitter are definitely the social media platforms you want to check out here.
That's true, especially with the USMNT camp coming up. Even though it's comprised of MLS players that we don't regularly cover, we will definitely be posting about that. So make sure you, again, keep an eye out for that. And we're also on podcast platforms. So we're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So make sure you check us out there. Leave us a review. We always appreciate your feedback.
And I'm glad that you brought up that camp, Austin, just with, seeing some of the MLS players, domestic players. Obviously we saw the European camp here earlier. But it'll be kind of interesting to see, how this all kind of comes together and what this can ultimately lead to.
That's right. We're all pushing for one day winning the World Cup.